Greetings, my name is Paul, and I welcome you to our first lesson for Windows XP. Now, Windows XP is an older version of what is called an operating system. I like to look at it as a operating environment, and it is where many programs can operate under one set of resources instead of having to set it up all separately. We give out computers after 10 different lessons. We have a total of 12 lessons in all, and people come to our classes. They start anytime, finish anytime, and when they get 10 lessons in, they're able to get that free computer. And it is bundled with Windows XP. Also on it is OpenOffice.org, and OpenOffice.org is a very good program that is utilized worldwide. It is compatible with what Microsoft Office is operating, and they open the same files. Both of them are on the same architecture that is able to do this. So we do have a total of 12 lessons. At the end of 12 lessons, we do have a nice certificate that is suitable for framing to offer you. With this certificate, why people has moved on and got some very good jobs, and others have gone to college to further their education. It's a great time when people find out that their dreams are possible. Well, I'd like to get going with the first lesson now and help you get started with what is a computer all about. The first thing I need to explain to you is the difference between hardware and software. Hardware is anything you can touch. And that means that your keyboard, your monitor, and different things like a printer, they are all considered hardware. You can pick them up and move them around to a location you want them to be and make it comfortable for you to be able to operate. However, they do work with the computer by sending certain signals to the computer and be able to give responses that you see on a monitor. So we got software that is going to suit that purpose to be able to have a transfer of information. So in summary about software you cannot touch, but you can have results take place in your computer for what you expect to happen. Now, with this thought in mind, you need to realize that not all pieces of hardware are external. Many of them are internal, and that means that they are housed in a box that we call a system unit. In this system unit, we do have a CD player or a floppy disk or different things that will also be included, like a hard drive, and be able to have certain cards installed in there to expand the use of your computer. These are all items of hardware. Now, we need to realize that there is a couple classifications of hardware and software, and that is input and output. Now, how this we will deal with this is that we realize that a keyboard is a item of input. Also, with a mouse, this is also with input, but both of them produce signals that go to the computer and have it operate like you expect. So then we have software that is also being used for input. Now we turn to the monitor, and it is hardware, but it is something that is used for output. In other words, it's going to show you the result of what you're asking for. If you are typing a letter, it's going to be typed and input is made on the keyboard, but the output can be seen as a result on the monitor. Both of them uses different codes to be able to understand what's going on, and for that we are also using resources that are going to make it possible. So we have input and output, but take notice there is also items that are combination. Now you take a printer. It is basically used for output. In other words, you're going to create a hard copy that you can take in your hands and give it to somebody who's without a computer. Some people in our class, after having a computer, they still don't have a printer. So there is something that they are also dealing with. We're going to talk more about printers later on. Now, one thing I want you to realize that while we have our printer, many of them today have scanners on it. That means that you can create documents automatically by using the scanner and being able to import something to your computer that you don't have to create. It can be in the form of a picture or OCR, which is optical recognition characters, and it is put into a file that is editable for text. This is input coming from your printer. So now your printer is being used for both input and output. But still, it is hardware. Likewise, when you go to a restaurant, the waitress will take your order, but then she goes over to a computer screen and she will tap on the screen exactly what you ordered, and in turn this order is printed out into the kitchen without her running there. So we have a combination of a screen that is able to also give you a response of what is happening. It'll even show a total of the order or a list of what is being ordered, and it is confirmed before it's printed out into the kitchen. So this is a monitor that is used for both input and output as well. Now, when you go to fast food restaurants, they will take your order and tap their finger on the screen for what your order is, and immediately they'll look up at you and say that'll be so much money, and when you give them the money, they will also tap on that screen, which will open the cash register drawer for you to be able to complete the transaction. Well, out of all this, we also get a lot of reports for management that is going to go on either to the home office of what the chain might be, and there's a lot of communication going on in addition to a receipt being printed for you at that same register. So there is a lot of things transforming here from input to output, and getting a lot of results that would be very laborsome if it was done by hand. Also, with the transactions going on like this, accuracy is also in place. That no longer do we have drawers being checked out at the restaurants or the cashiers at a store or whatever the case may be, that they are short of money or over rings. Also with wrong change being given out. Everything is calculated for them. So there's a lot of things that are improved by this method. Input and output being done on the computer. When the different programs of software are developed, accuracy is also checked. The first thing we're going to talk about is what you're going to be concerned about the most is being able to plug in your computer to get it to work. And that means you're going to use a power supply. A power supply is the first item that we're going to be looking at, and it is a piece of hardware that accepts your electricity, and it is also using a lot of tentacles coming out of it. So the power supply, first thing it does is that it will transform AC power into DC power and be able to send it to the different parts internally, to all the different pieces of hardware that needs this electricity to operate. And that is the first item that first thing that it does is it supplies DC power to all the components inside your computer. Now, also, as we look inside this power supply, we realize that there is a fan on the back that will blow air over a couple heat sinks that will keep it cool. It won't burn up on us. So take notice that in this demonstration we are showing you that there are slots in the back of it, and it will allow the heat to go throughout the computer. Now the manufacturer will supply a various number of fans internally, and it will allow control over heat inside your system unit. And this system unit is the box that sits on your desk, or it might be a tower that sits on the floor. It is called a system unit because in its time, in the early days, Radio Shack came out with components that were scattered across the table and was able to have them all connected to operate as one computer. Well, along with Tandy came with the Commodore, which they consolidated all these parts into one box, and now we have a systems unit where it is easy to pick up and move to a different location and also use a smaller amount of space. In turn, the heat that is generated from the computer, particularly from this power supply, is going to be offering a steady heat source that your computer will operate within a normal operating range. This operating range, there were tests taking place about what should be the how warm or how cool a room should be to house a computer. Well, in the old days, yes, people were concerned about this, and they would have a air conditioner being operated to keep it as cool as possible. Well, through different tests, they were able to establish that normal room temperature is the best operating environment that used the least amount of electricity. So this was also controlled by a series of fans that when you have, I'm going to be showing you where some extension or add-on boards can be put into your computer, and there are doors that you remove on the back of it so that you can plug something into it. But if there are any empty spaces, those back doors, the slots that are there, should not be open because the air going around in your computer will be interrupted. So that is very important. By the way, I have been showing you the inside of the power supply. You need to be aware that if you should actually see one open, don't touch it, because there is enough voltage going through there, amperage, and it can really cause bodily harm. You might even need to have 911 come in and revive you. With the same shock of what they use paddles to get your heart started if it should stop is the same shock that will put you at rest. So be very concerned if you should find one open. And these pictures that I'm showing you is the only way you're going to know what's inside this power supply. Well, looking at the time of what I used up for you, it seems like this is a good breaking time, because I would like to get into the CPU and discuss what the CPU is and how it affects the computer, how data is transferred, and seeing where the CPU is mounted on what is called the motherboard. That is going to be coming up on part 2. So I thank you for your time as it is, and this is going to get a pretty good understanding of how your computer operates and be able to handle it should there be a time for an upgrade or repairs or something simple that can be done on your own. And this is Paul Jones, and please go to part 2 of this first lesson.